Hello everybody, welcome back. Balian here, and I'm bringing you a new YouTube video series starting with the Ghost of Tsushima gameplay presentation that took place about a week ago now from the date of this video. This is kind of a series where I'm going to sort of go through some of the latest releases or the latest games that sort of get revealed, some gameplay, some cinematics, whatever comes out. Break it down, give my opinion to you guys, and just sort of share my thoughts and ideas and maybe start a discussion with you guys as well. I usually do this on my Twitch stream, but I'm going to do a YouTube section for it now as well because it was quite popular. A little bit about me. I've got a degree in games design, and I've been in and out of the industry sort of since 2013 really, and various forms and things. I'm by no means, a thorough knowledge on the industry, but I do have, little insights that you might find interesting and little opinions that you might want to listen to, weirdly enough. So yeah, we're going to jump straight in. This is the Ghost of Tsushima gameplay footage, and I'll just show and share my thoughts and ideas. So State of Play, I believe, is a new sort of PlayStation thing that they're launching, especially with this new era of PlayStation. Sucker Punch Studios as well, one of the big three studios.
Hello everyone,
Sony
I'm Jason
has.
Connell from Sucker Punch Productions. We have a lot to show you today about Ghost of Tsushima. Combat, customization, special modes. But first, let's take a look at how you explore the world of Tsushima.
All right, there we go. So I will say at the start, I have seen this before, so I sort of give advanced opinions ahead of things that come up maybe, or just discuss them. So yeah, Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and Sucker Punch, I believe Sony's big three independent studios that tend to only make games exclusively for the PlayStation. So Sucker Punch previously have made the Sly Cooper series, which is again third person, but not really in the vein of this. I guess there's stealth mechanics in that. Then Infamous as well, again third person, so they've kind of grown their franchise there. I think they started making those in about 2010, but the last Infamous game was around 2014. So since 2014, these guys have been working supposedly on this. So it's kind of a love child baby project that I'm sure they have been wanting to make for a while. Pitched it to Sony, got the go ahead. So this is what they've been working on. The music is one of the things that does stand out as well, but exploration, and this is a great gameplay video. And the first thing that hit me immediately when I saw this was the complete lack of UI that we are getting here. There's no cues on the screen other than what you see, visual cues.
But you can't have exploration if you don't have curiosity. So we've continually asked ourselves, how can we let the island guide you in the most thematic and immersive ways possible?
So obviously he touched on the word immersion, but that's immediately what you're trying to show to me. It's like, how could you make this game as immersive as possible? If you're making an open world game, how do you bring this world to life? How do you use the world to guide the player, especially if it is open world? Because ultimately that's what you've got to do, because there won't be necessarily quests always driving you forward. There is a massive part of the gameplay that is just experiencing the open world and just exploring it, finding hidden things, taking on enemies and enemy encampments. So using the open world to guide the player is almost key. And I like immediately that they talk about this as the first thing you notice is the lack of UI. There's no compass, there's no directional indicator or marker for you to take a look at, and it's very similar to well, I would say it's similar, but it's also very different to a lot of games in that way. If you take something like Skyrim, you have your compass at the top of the screen. You have this beautiful open world that you don't necessarily always use to navigate with, because either one, you fast travel, or two, you find out where your compass marker is and you just head in a straight direction as fast as you can to your next objective. Whereas this, there is no visual cue like that. If you want to pull your map out, you can, but everything that's guiding you is, oh, that's the village down there. Oh, what's that smoke over there? It's a nice immersive way of getting the player to explore this world that you've created. So it's a good decision in my mind. And there we see the map right there, and I'll just pause. I do like how there are, changes in terrain and height and elevation that we can see across the map. We can see all the rivers, we can see all the roads, because there is no on-screen compass. You're not always going to know which way north, south, east, and west is. You will have to use the roads, and I'm on the left-hand side of the road. The village is down this way. I travel to my right. There's a lake behind me. I know which direction I'm facing. So that is nice to see. And it is a very immersive way of playing. And I think throughout this game or this gameplay presentation, there's this continual bordering on making the game accessible, because it does come across as a very accessible game in terms of, a casual gamer won't be intimidated by the depths of the mechanics. It is very easy to pick up and play and just play through. So choosing not to have a compass kind of takes that element away. So if you look at this game from what are the most, not complicated gameplay elements, but some of the ones that aren't traditional, this is probably one of the biggest ones I'd say is the exploration factor and the way that you're going to navigate through this game, which does and will play a factor in your experience. Again, we got question marks, very similar to The Witcher 3. I mean, that's exactly how they dealt with that experience in The Witcher 3. And that's all we get. Question mark, we don't know what it is. Undiscovered location, 430 meters. So you get how far away it is. Obviously, you can kind of see it here. I don't know if that's kind of suggested in the video. So you've come to the edge of a mountain, you look down, you see a village. What's in that village? And you set up your quest. I mean, you don't need a quest marker. You're going to the village, right? So that's kind of pointless. But that's all you get for that. There's no icon that shows you where to go. And I do really love the color palette in this game. It's so much green. Everything else is beige, white, or black, apart from it tends to be your character and what you're wearing. And then the flowers come out every now and again to really sort of highlight the world. Obviously, you have the horse, the whistle mechanic, and these really, really fluid animations for mounting, dismounting, which, is really going to sell this game to some players if the game's fun. And fluid animations, especially fluid animations in combat, are a big part of just enjoying playing the character. Because if you have to navigate this world and explore this world, and it's frustrating to move, that obviously will play a factor. And there you can see the color I was just talking about here, just really, really striking colors that cut through. And right here, so this gust of wind mechanic, I'm going to keep pausing. It's how this is going to work. This gust of wind mechanic is kind of, their unique way to give you guidance to the objectives. So call a gust of wind at any time to point you in the right direction. So this is kind of interesting. The most similar thing I could sort of align this to is Fable 3. If you played that, they had this golden breadcrumb trail mechanic where this golden breadcrumb would lead you to your next objective. And I know that Peter Molyneux, who was the sort of creative mind behind Fable, had originally sort of concepted that idea because in Fable 1, you had this 3D world that they wanted you to explore, especially because 3D worlds were kind of a big deal at the time. But everyone just brought the map up. You could bring the map full screen like you can in Diablo. It kind of hovers over and you could just walk around with the map in front of you. And it kind of just took away all this effort they put into this world that they want you to check out and see. So they implemented this golden breadcrumb trail mechanic in subsequent games in the hopes that you would, just follow the breadcrumb trail, if you wanted a visual cue of where to go, but you would go off and explore and you wouldn't just keep checking the map or just following blindly, a compass or a quest marker. It didn't really work in Fable 3 because a lot of people just then only followed the trail and never explored, never checked out what the rest of the world looked like, and it kind of was a bit detrimental to them in a way. But in this, it seems that the presence of the wind isn't always there. So when you want to get back on track, you just hit a button, it guides you back to where you were heading towards, and there's no pulling you out of that as well. It's not like I've completed this objective, map up, set location, next one, this direction, let me go and follow this beam of light in the sky. It's just, what was I doing? Oh yeah, tap left on your D-pad. Right, back on track, right? It's a nice, immersive way of introducing that. Particle effects are really nice in this as well. So we find bamboo there. That's obviously crafting materials for tools or items that you will use in this game. Your kunai, your throwing stars, your smoke bombs, whatever it would be. I don't think there'll be any kind of weapon crafting system or anything like that. And then we see some wildlife kind of dynamically encountering some guards. That's a nice little showcase of that as a system within the game. Deer as well. And as we get here, as we get here, this is where we see the icon appear only when you're close. To me, I'm not going to call up red flags in this gameplay, but you know, in my mind, if I'm being truthful, this is the first red flag I see. You know, I see a farmstead, which is location. Mongol territory, right? Okay, so this open world game is split into territories. It's probably going to be up to me to go into a territory, conquer certain sections of it, take over that territory, and then move on to the next bit, which kind of then starts to showcase some of the repetitive gameplay elements that might be present. If we press play again here,
the guiding wind can take you to all kinds of locations in the game.
just to pause it again, it says here, you know, the objective here, rescue the hostages, bonus, kill your enemies without healing. Obviously, these little bonus objectives are straight out of the latest Assassin's Creed games. I mean, this is exactly how they handled their open worlds, which to me personally always gets a little repetitive. Ubisoft have a tendency to do that with things like Assassin's Creed and with, you know, Far Cry as well. So again, that's kind of a red flag to me, only because I find that kind of gameplay very repetitive, and to me that this screams that. This screams, here's a location, it's a farmstead, here's an objective, complete the objective, secure a part of this territory, move on to the next part, secure that part, move on to the next part, secure that part. It's not, you know, quests with interesting, you know, stories behind them. Now, you can't expect that with everything, but it depends on how you handle your open world. The Witcher had little locations that you could go to, monster huts, caves, monster dens, caves, things like that. They were like mini little repeatable objectives, but the main core of the open world was go to a village. There's a question mark. It's a quest. Talk to a villager. Get a really cool, you know, story that could be, you know, almost episodical. If you played the game for an hour and a half every day, each hour and a half of those stories is like a different TV show episode with a different beastie. You know, it was just a really nice way to experience a world in a game, because the quests were always interesting. There was always a twist, and it doesn't even matter about the quality of the writing. It just gave you different gameplay every time you encountered a new location, so much so that you wanted to discover everything because you didn't know what was going to happen. There was a mystery about it, whereas here it's go here, I know I've got to burn something down or rescue someone or kill someone, and then I move on to the next one. At least that's what the impression I'm getting.
Like this farmstead that's been taken over by the Mongols. It can also take you to your next big story moments, or even help you find rare collectibles.
So there are story moments, okay?
But what about the things that you don't know?
So right here, rewards, you've got minor legend increase. This is obviously some kind of reputation system within the game. I know they talk about playing as the samurai, playing as the ghost, the legend of the ghost, trying to fill up your notoriety. And that would affect the world around you, I'm sure, making people to be more scared of you, whatever. 12 iron, maybe this is a crafting mechanic for building weapons. Honestly, these kind of mechanics here kind of lend me to believe that there's some sort of base building perhaps going on.
Know about, that you haven't seen yet, that you don't know exist. Keep your eyes peeled for other visual cues. Smokestacks on the horizons, interesting and odd-shaped trees, or maybe even animals trying to get your attention.
So I get that's really cool, right? Again, it's back to this visual guidance of the player. Smokestacks are something that's straight out of Red Dead, which again, there's nothing wrong with. It's just not a new gameplay mechanic. It is a fun one though. So the environments look great. It's a really, really nice, peaceful, serene world. The music's really nice. The Foley is really nice. The sound of the leaves, the sound of the trees, you know, the rustling, the clapping of the hooves. We've got, you know, nice little dynamic moments like birds leading you to objectives and stuff. That's fun. That's cool.
Stay away, my lord. The spirits of vengeful samurai haunt this forest.
And again, like, so we don't know if he actually pressed R2 there. The guy just said something. So this could be a quest. You could talk to this guy. It could be a dialogue sequence. You know, maybe they aren't finished yet. Maybe they haven't done all their dialogue sequences, which is why we don't engage in this. Or maybe there is no dialogue, you know, and it doesn't go into some kind of cutscene, because in one way, you know, this is quite a nice, dynamic, accessible way for you to pick up quests. You just ride past someone and they give you a bit of information about the area ahead, and you proceed with a little bit of knowledge about what's kind of going on. You know, we don't need to know much, just vengeful spirits haunt this forest, right? So, okay, cool, right? already I know maybe there's ghosts here, maybe there's some abnormal creatures, it's going to be dark, it's going to be scary, I need to be on my guard, right? That's all you need. Maybe it's just a nice, accessible way to give players information, or maybe there are dialogue and cutscenes that we haven't seen yet.
Let's go, Nobu.
So this is a different color. This is yellow. So you've got to assume this is either rare. If there's rare crafting materials, maybe there's rare weapons, items, armor, bits of gear. And this is all very nice and it looks good, but I'm just worried with an open world game like this, how much are we going to see the same thing? Like right here, we've got 3 pitchforks that are the same asset. A lot of these trees, although they look great, are the same asset. And now when you're making an open world game, especially one like this, you're going to have to reuse a lot of stuff. That's a given. But like, how often are we going to see the same buildings and things like that is my question. The lighting is really good. And I'll tell you what, the physics, it's really good. Although the wind shouldn't really be blowing too much inside. Right? See when we step outside if that changes. Not really. Maybe when you stand still and start running. The physics on the clothing is really, really nice. And here we have a fox. Fox will guide Jin to hidden shrines, which is kind of cool. There's a huge focus on nature in this game as well, right? You have the deer, we've seen boar, we've seen foxes, birds that guide you to locations. So there's this whole in touch with nature thing going on. You know, it's an island. I suppose they want you to feel that, you know, especially if you're out on your own. You don't seem to have any allies or friends. A lot of this is solo travel. So, you know, and the hand clapping, even that is just so nice. Inari shrines needed to earn a minor charm slot. So 1, 2, 3. So this is almost like standard progression in a lot of games. You know, collect the life vessels to unlock a new bit of health. You know, this is collect the Inari shrines to unlock a new charm slot. So again, very traditional gameplay mechanics. Not that these don't work in games, because they've been proven to work in a lot of games, but you know, it's not new. And look, right there, once you've visited a location, you can return with fast travel. So we know that's in the game as well.
Tsushima is rich with exploration and discovery. And whether you're just following a string of torii gates that'll lead you to a high mountain shrine, or maybe it's just a fox trying to show
Again,
you
this looks so much like Red Dead.
something hidden in the woods. Either way,
Lots of
bring your sense
exploration though,
adventure
that's
and
nice.
let the wind guide you.
And I really do like the wind mechanic. So because they split, let me watch to the end of the section. Lovely bit of platforming, that's nice. All of these different environments, these look great. Different lighting, so many different uses of color as well. Villages, open plains, swamps, beaches. I really like the variety of environments they're showcasing, which means at least the places we visit will feel fresh and different. And the progression isn't just going to be tied into your character and gameplay, it's going to be tied into these new areas and locations you could discover as well. So I'll just stop right there. So because this is the end of the exploration section, I think, which is cool. So in terms of exploration, it doesn't really, it's not that it's not offering anything new, because it has these undiscovered locations which look like repeatable gameplay mechanics trapped within a territorial world. And, you know, other games that are set entirely on an island, like Just Cause, it's territories that you take over and you capture and you conquer. One thing about being set on an island is there's no invisible walls or barriers. Obviously, there's the sea, but, you know, it's logic dictates you can't really swim out, right? And if you can't get a boat, you can't get a boat. But that means the devs can, if they wanted to, and if they have, offer the entire island and environment for you to explore. Now, they can kind of close off areas depending on certain sections and elements of gameplay and story. They might want to open them up later. But to have an entire island that's completely open world that you could probably go to every single section of, that would be really cool, right? Because there's no barriers to this place you're here to explore and discover. And if you can get to the top and see it all, and you can literally go, oh cool, what's that? I want to go there. What's that? I want to go there. What's over here? You know, that to me is always some of the best and most immersive parts of a video game. Seeing something, wanting to know what it is, and going there to explore it, rather than beelining to your objective or teleporting to a location. So this is me, I'm speaking from me personally, so it's might not apply to a lot of different people, but you know, I do like the concept of an island. That is really nice. And the gust of wind mechanic is new. That's a new mechanic. There aren't that many new mechanics showcased in this game. I don't know if they've got a bunch hidden that they haven't shown yet. That's a new cool mechanic that seems interesting.
Hi, this is Nate Fox from Sucker Punch. Now, we just showed you some exploration, but let's switch gears and check out some combat.
So the music is great, right? The music is really nice. So combat... I mean, I've seen this already, so... There's always a lot of choices how to approach combat. Obviously, they go for
ever seen a samurai
sense
movie,
of realism.
You know what to expect. Two warriors sizing each other up, waiting for the other to make the first move.
So we see this standoff button right here. Jin can challenge enemies to lethal standoffs. Now this is interesting, because this again is a new gameplay mechanic, relatively. Very cool. Very similar to Quick Draw in Red Dead. In fact, I believe that was known as the Samurai Quick Draw, the technique of sheathing your blade and chopping people in half. Really nicely implemented. It looks like it's a lot of fun to play with. How many times before you get bored doing that? I don't know. You can tie it into like critical story elements, you know, like, oh, you're about to do something and then all these men burst in the room and you have to take them out in slow motion. That's really fun too. It is a new mechanic, but it's kind of similar to Red Dead and how they handle things. It does look great and is super satisfying. And the ragdolls are really interesting because nobody like ragdolls instantly. They kind of catch themselves and stumble to the floor. Again though, just to pause it, we have the same. Destroy the shipyard, eliminate the war general. Bonus, kill enemies with a half bow. It's all...
As you
We've
can see,
done
the
this
Mongols
before
are
in so
everywhere
many
on
other
this island.
games.
For Jin to succeed, he has to use real, skillful precision in fighting them. No wasted energy. Every strike must count.
So I really like that as a concept, right? Every strike must count. So we'll see how much that applies to this and if that really is the case. But as an idea to approach the combat and the gameplay from, that's a nice point to come from, I feel. So deflecting arrows, awesome. Dodging and countering, always really fun to do. It was like a system to master. So we saw a dodge counter and a parry counter there. So different gameplay systems to master, different timing systems to master. That's fun because you don't necessarily have to include a whole bunch of new mechanics. You've already got some at the start. It's just about the player getting familiar with the game enough to be able to master those mechanics, which is always fun because you get better just as a player as the character does. It doesn't necessarily have to always be skills. I like you can chop through people, bit of dismemberment here, that's cool. And again here, this is a new system that they go on to explain a little bit here, but different stances, okay? So there's the water stance, we were just in the stone stance. Obviously these symbols would probably represent which enemy type they would work best against. It's a halberd and spear type enemies. Looks like this is for shield enemies, this looks like this is for sword enemies. And although I'm sure it's switch to this style, it's more effective. It would be nice to know that you can just change these styles on the fly just based on how you want to play, because a lot of these games that have, these action combat games, it gets a little boring after a while when, pressing square, you always just go, it's the same combo, it's the same moveset. Being able to change a stance and change that opening moveset and change your blocking, that's really fun. That gives like fresh gameplay throughout the game as you introduce new stances and new ways to play to the player. So you can still just be using a sword, but now there are 4 different ways for you to use that sword. There are 4 different attack patterns. There are 4 different movement patterns. So you get to not only choose the best style to your preference, but also have the simple, combat mechanics just evolve because of something like a stance switch. It says here to inflict the most damage. Block breaking there, looks like as well. Blocking arrows still. So the ragdolls are interesting. They kind of hang in place and then fall to the ground. A little bow as well. Very nice. Very subtle attention to detail with the flicking of the blood off the sword and things like that. So I like that there's night. Obviously, there's a day-night cycle on this island.
So that was Jin fighting as a samurai. But now let's see him take on the same group of Mongols as the dishonorable Ghost.
This is the same camp.
As the Ghost, he'll use every dirty trick he can think up to even the odds. Even using fear as a weapon.
So I don't know if this is coming back at a different time, but now the objective is destroy the powder cache. So same camp, different objective. I mean, hopefully you don't have to take the same camps different times, right? That would be annoying. So now you get to see a little bit of these tool systems that are in place here. So it looks like you have your different item selection. This is probably different from weapon selection because you've got 1, 2, 3 different swords right here. I mean, maybe these change based on what stance you use, but it looks like you have throwing stuff here. So you've got some kind of rock, firecrackers, obviously another mechanic. I mean, throwing rocks and firecrackers is something we have all been doing in games for a long, long time. Half bow and then long bow. I'm sure these have different arrow types, which I think we do get to see a little bit later as well. But the point with all this is it's not new, you know, as cool as this game is, and it's an open world samurai game, which is a unique experience that you won't get anywhere else. You know, I believe they've been working on this game since 2014. To me, it almost feels like a game that has been being in development for 6 years, because a lot of the concepts, it's not that they're outdated, it's just they've all been done before at this point. All of these little gameplay mechanics, they've all been done before. And it's not like a knock at the game or the studio, because every game that introduces mechanics was a good game. The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption, we see some God of War stuff later on as well. They were all really good games. But it does just feel like if this game came out 3 or 4 years ago, you know, a lot of this stuff would have been really, really awesome. Now it's a bit like, well, I've already done this in another game. I've already done this in Assassin's Creed. I've already done this in Red Dead or God of War. Maybe not God of War and Red Dead so much, but those God of War I'll talk about a little bit more later. But these luring enemies, we've all done this in Assassin's Creed. We've all done this in Splinter Cell. The animations are really nice. I like how the blood is like a dynamic particle effect that sprays all over your character. So here we've got, let me just go back a second here. So here we have, go from throwing to the longbow, and here we have heavy arrows, and then I'm guessing these are some kind of explosive arrows as well. But you know, if you can do that, why not just do that to everybody, right? Just one shot, kill them in the head. Obviously you give them limited resources, which is where those supplies and those bits of wood and stuff come into it that we saw earlier on. It gives a little bit of a focus on preparation, which is nice, you know. You prepare by gathering supplies to craft the materials and items you'll need to take on these camps. And the assassinations, they look really cool, you know, but chaining together assassinations is something that has been done before. Not that that's bad. Not that this means you're not going to have a good experience in this game. You know, it still is really fun to do. It's just not really like, you know, new, cool, innovative stuff. Very nice. And again, we changed stance there. In fact, I think he actually switched from a kunai to a smoke bomb, I think. Let's have a quick look here. No, I think he's already done it here. Does the assassination. And there we go. So we had the kunai equipped, which obviously throwing knives. I think he switches here to a smoke bomb. And then this might be some kind of like fire weapon, it looks like. Maybe you coat your weapon in fire. And then here is possibly some kind of explosive. Obviously, I'm not sure. But he goes to a smoke bomb. And you can drop it and then get those critical strikes in, which is really cool. Little assassination. And then throws the kunai, which looks like it's a one-shot, one-kill mechanic. Which is cool, you know, because if the enemies do a lot of damage, then, you know, there's obviously nothing wrong here. This is something I've not seen before here. This little rack is glowing. So it kind of suggests to me there's going to be little bits of the environment you can interact with to, you know, open up, you know, gameplay for that camp. Like maybe you can knock the fire pit over, or maybe you can release a boar or something like that. Very Far Cry, very Shadow of Mordor, you know. I do like that you can stab people on the ground, though. That is awesome. All the particle effects are so nice as well. I really love the design of the boats as well. I think they're probably traditional, but they look great. So here we can see you have the R2 option to jump down, but once you jump, you have the R2 option here to grapple. And it says Jin can use his grappling hook to climb or swing across gaps. Now that's a cool mechanic, right? Grappling hook, awesome. We don't see that too often. Maybe in Batman, that was a really cool system. And in Batman, it was a really dynamic system where you could literally grapple onto, especially Arkham City, you could grab onto any building that you saw, use that to fly. You could literally use it on anything, almost like the Spider-Man's webs in the Spider-Man game. What I'm worried about is whether it will be introduced as a system that's very specific to certain sections of gameplay. Like, here's a gap. Oh, there's an item there, or there's a rock there. That's a grappling hook rock. I can grapple hook to that. The fact that we've done it just to put ourselves up a ledge maybe doesn't suggest that. And I think there was an Assassin's Creed game that implemented that a little bit as well. But again, you know, like, you have this open world island that you theoretically could have the player explore the entirety of, because, you know, there's no reason to shut any of it off. There's not like there's lands beyond it. It's just an island, right? So already you're trapped by water. You don't need to restrict the player with invisible walls or anything like that. And if you have a grappling hook, what a great way to navigate that world. What a great way to change elevation, to just have a dynamic ability to explore this environment. It would be a shame if they don't take advantage of the grappling hook and implement that as like part of the player's arsenal for exploration, rather than just a specific tool that's very, you know, very situational. Like, you need to use the grappling hook here, rather than you can use the grappling hook whenever you want. So we'll see how they introduce that, because that would be another cool thing that kind of sets the game apart a little bit. I guess this looks very Assassin's Creed. It looks like you could hook as you were falling off the ledge there. Looks like you can grapple and hook onto pretty much everything on this ship. The R2 button keeps coming up all the time. And there's the objective. Whee. Yeah, in the face, break the neck. Pretty lethal stuff. And there you go. Objective complete. And there, it blows up while you're still on it, which is kind of not good, right? Like, you don't want that to happen. I don't know why you need to burn it down if you've already blown it up. But this here we go, right? Destroyed shipyard complete, right? That again screams this red flag repeated gameplay to me, right? Like, here's a little cutscene you get for destroying the objective. On to the next one. Like, I don't know how much cave diving you can do and how much shrine exploring you can do and how much random encounters you can experience, but if the game devolves down to go to this question mark, kill this encampment, or free this village, or save this villager, and on to the next one, it's just going to get really repetitive, I feel, you know? Like a little, like, completed screen, and then you've, you know, captured this section of the territory, because there was Mongol territory earlier. So I'm not going to make any judgments on it yet, because I don't know, but this kind of is a little bit of a red flag to me. Not that the game would be bad if that's how it plays out, but definitely I feel would get quite repetitive. Customization, always nice.
You might have noticed that while fighting as the samurai...
So, although this looks great, right? So far, we've not seen any new outfits. It's just been different colors and then a hat.
Or sneaking around
and
as
then
the
headbands.
ghost.
This is a different
Jin
outfit.
had on a different
so this looks like a different shoulder, or perhaps it's a different cape.
Set of armor. That's because the armor in this game actually gives...
So now there is armor. So I'm guessing this is probably some variation of light robe, and then medium armor.
Gives you different mechanical advantages.
Heavy armor.
It's not
with a hat,
just
without a hat. But this then again looks like a completely different suit. And, you know, there are different swords here, or at least different attachments you could put on the sword. So maybe that's what you use the iron for. I mean, these look really cool. So weapon customization is definitely something that players will love.
As you explore the world, you'll discover Omamori charms. They'll give you an edge in battle. But more importantly, as your legend grows, you'll develop all new techniques which transform Jin from a samurai into the ghost.
So to stop here to talk about the charms, right? They've obviously different gameplay changes, charms of ferocity, bludgeoning, dual destruction, right? Toxic defense. These are different rarities, it looks like, as well. So there's some kind of rarity system. This is very much the rune system from God of War. Again, not that that's bad, but you know, it's not a new gameplay system. I mean, if this game came out 4 years ago, this, you know, God of War, it was kind of a new gameplay system. I mean, it was a variation on existing systems, but it felt fresh enough. Whereas this now just feels like an old, you know, system that's already been implemented, already been used before. I do like that you have different play styles that you can utilize. You know, if you like poison, you can make a poison playstyle by using the charms. It doesn't mean that the gameplay is going to be bad, because in God of War the rune system was great. It's just, it's been done before, you know.
But the thing is, you get to decide how those techniques evolve and grow over time. It's always worth keeping an eye out for dye flowers. Find enough of them and you can change the color of an armor. So not only do you get to choose how the ghost gameplay evolves, but you can fine-tune the look as well.
Again, I've talked about how this is just changing the color palette. They have mentioned that like different kinds of armor would affect your gameplay, which is cool. I mean, these are all things you want. These are all nice changes you can make to change the individual experience you have and customize it to yourself within the game mechanics. I'm not going to say anything negative about it, because I already have said a lot that's quite negative already. But one thing, I wonder why you can't go to towns and buy new clothes, right? Why have you got to make this stuff yourself? That's kind of interesting. They do look really nice, like the colors and everything. They do look really good.
It wouldn't be a Sucker Punch game if it didn't have photo mode. In our new photo mode, we have features such as color grading, depth of field, so you can focus on the right objects. We have a bunch of new
it's always
features
a wise
that really
decision.
underline the motion and movement.
I mean, this is probably the most modern day thing about. Actually, I'd say maybe it isn't the most modern day thing about it, because you know the first time I really saw a camera mode or a photo mode used was in Shadow of Mordor, which was in about 2014 when their last game came out. But it's always a smart idea to include a photo mode, because you know people are going to share on social media. I mean, that's just a smart decision. And
So
people
great
have fun
about
with
our
it
game.
as well, you know.
You can control the wind's direction, the speed. You can change out the particles to different types of leaves and fireflies. You can even select a track of music from our original score that might be a little bit more fitting. So if you're into doing a photo, or maybe you actually want to do a video, there's something here for you. Here's a few that I've created.
A nice little showcase of it as well. I mean, this is a game, but I like the dynamic mud. That's nice to pick out. Just covered in mud. Very Red Dead. The cutscenes do look good. Like, cinematically, this looks great.
A Japanese voice track option with subtitles is a perfect fit for our game. So I'm happy to say that before the first scene even starts, you'll be able to turn this option on.
It's really nice to see that. I know that's slightly immersion breaking because it's not ideal, but you know, that is kind of cool. You know, like implementing a little thing. I like little touches like this. Like I like the ability to be able to draw my sword and then put it away when I decide. You know, you have that power here, you know, just calm, or you can get your sword out whenever you want to, you know, mess around, right? So being able to do things like, I've killed someone, there's blood all over my blade, and then shake it and have all the blood come off within the game. That's cool, right? That's a cool little feature. Like, let me just clean my blade because I'm done here, put my sword away, and let's move on. You know, it's little touches like that. That's cool. All part of the samurai experience.
お侍様の戦い方じゃない。何を申す。お侍どころじゃないよ。
I'm assuming about something about not being a samurai anymore. I like the black and white mode. I mean, I don't know how many players are going to play with it.
Here at Sucker
LA
Punch, we're
Noir
huge
had a
fans
black
of
and white
samurai
mode.
cinema.
That was very, very
We wanted
cool.
to create a way for you to feel like you're playing your favorite samurai movie. So we
Jewel of the
created a
crashing
windy,
waves.
black and white, film grained out mode that you can turn on from the very beginning of the game.
You really get to see the physics of the clothing really, really work in this mode as well, which is kind of cool. So good. Fantastic music. And more great Foley here. Just beautiful Foley. And again, a nice showcasing to round off what we've seen so far in this gameplay trailer. All of the different mechanics. I mean, it could be fun to just chill out on the sofa, go through and play that. Let me just pause there. So, as a gameplay presentation, I think it was good. They covered a lot of bases. They talked about the exploration mechanics, the actual fighting mechanics and the differences between them, the stealth mechanics, player progression with the charms, the system, player customization. If you're presenting a gameplay trailer to an audience who you want to sell your game to, it's great. You've covered all bases. You've shown everything about the game. You've shown what's in the game. As a gameplay trailer, it's very, very good. The only thing that slightly worries me about this game is that all of the mechanics that they're showing that are included have already been done before. We have all experienced those sensations before. This is packaged up in a new experience, to use the word again, because you're being a samurai this time around, but we've all stealth infiltrated bases, and we've all assassinated people from roofs, and we've all counter parried someone and stabbed them, and we've all rode around on a horse, and we've all climbed buildings and walked across ship masts and set fire to camps and tents. It's all been done. We've equipped charms and things like that. It's all been done before. It's going to be a lot more about the execution of this game, I think, because there are games that have good gameplay mechanics, and there are games that have really truly immersive settings and world that are fun to be in and I guess draw you in, for a lack of word. A great example of that would be something like Red Dead 2, where you are, yes, playing through a story and there are a bunch of explorative things to do, but just being in the world is almost enough. Like, you don't need to do anything really in Red Dead. You can just trot around on your horse, walk up and down the high streets. Obviously there's lots to do, but the world is so well crafted, so immersive, so detailed, and so much fun to be in that it doesn't need to be supported by the strength of its mechanics. I mean, there aren't really that many. You point your gun and you shoot, you get different guns, and there's a slow motion mode. That's it. There's no real stealth systems and explodable crackers to draw enemies' attentions and stuff like that. It's kind of a pretty simple system, but the world is so well made, and obviously the story, the acting, the performances. There's so many things that are good about Red Dead 2. But this seems to be a very nice immersive open world. It has a very nice nuanced theme. It's very relaxing. The music is very, very good. The wind, the trees, lots of nature, lots of great Foley, really good sound. And again, because you don't have any borders to it, because it's an island, it'll probably be quite a nice immersive place to explore. I'm just worried that the mechanics will be stale and repetitive, and we'll end up just doing a bunch of stuff that we have already done before in other video games. But, some of those video games were really, really good. So we'll see how it develops when it's closer to release. In my mind, $50 for this on release, I don't know if this is something I would pick up. There are a lot of good games coming out this year. My anticipation for this, I'd probably give it about a 7 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think, okay? So we're here to start a discussion. There's a comment section below. Please do type in it. Let me know. Let me know if you've agreed with anything I've said. Let me know if you've disagreed with anything I've said, okay? I hope you've enjoyed this video. There's more to come. We're going to have a look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla next. I'll break down that cinematic for you and explain a few things that I gleaned from it, and maybe just talk about some of the mechanics that might be included and how some of the story and the gameplay might work for that as well. But I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.